Welcome to Habits for Humans, the podcast that explores what makes people tick and how to program this brain of ours through habits. We're going to explore why in some areas and in sometimes in our lives we can really rock it, and at other times we can struggle. If we want to be healthy and happy, what is the secret to programming our brain to maximize our potential? I'm Pamela Henry, your host, and I'm excited today. We have entrepreneur and mother Mary Young, who is going to share some of her tips and tricks with us on how she manages her businesses as well as her family. We have several giveaways for our listeners at the end, so if you like free stuff, make sure you stay tuned. First, a word from our sponsors. This episode of Habits for Humans is brought to you by Card Salad. Card Salad's Eat Well program is kind of like HelloFresh meets Oprah. Get a free week of meal planning done for you at the end of this podcast. And it's brought to you by The Success Choice, a company that provides tools to help you filter through the noise of life and establish positive routines to find balance, order, and joy in the journey. So stay tuned for a special discount. I'm excited to introduce our guest. Mary Young is a certified speech-language-pathologist. She's an online business owner, a wife, and a mom of 4 littles. She's always looking for the next adventure and the next snack. All right, so Mary, we always start with just your number one tip or trick to help you manage the stresses of daily life. Is there something that you do regularly that helps you manage the stresses of daily life?
Hi, yes, Pam, I love to talk it out. I'm a person that processes my feelings and my day through talking. And so I need someone I trust, usually my husband, sometimes my mom or a friend, to just talk about what I'm stressed about, or maybe just connect in that way. It helps me to feel validated. It helps me to feel seen. And that usually can kind of disperse that tension that I'm feeling about whatever is going on in my life.
I find that's true. I think sometimes just vocalizing it helps you process it in your own mind, and you just solve it yourself a lot of times just explaining it to someone else.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Mary, you are doing some amazing things. I see you on social media doing really fun stuff, and you're just doing so many things in your life and balancing a family and everything. But tell me how you got started. So you are a speech pathologist and you also have an online business. So how did you get started in these pursuits?
Yes. Okay. A little bit of my background. I do have a master's degree in speech pathology, and I have worked in a few different settings with that. I worked in the public schools for a while. I worked in private therapy. I started my own private practice where I was seeing kids one-on-one. And then I had the opportunity to teach as an adjunct professor at a university. And I discovered that I really love teaching about speech and language. I'm a mom of 4. My friends around me were always asking me questions about my own kids because they were early talkers, and they were saying, what's your secret sauce? What magic speech things are you doing with them at home to get them, talking like this? And so creating a course for parents was on my mind for a long time, years, I would say. And I just really wanted to share the knowledge that I had that I knew would help people. And so during the pandemic, actually, I started a Facebook group for parents of kids to give tips and answer their questions about language delay, about speech issues, whatever they needed help with. Finally, I decided to just kind of bite the bullet and go for it. And I hired a videographer and I created this online course. And I took kind of my knowledge as, from a decade of being a speech pathologist and a mom myself, and made this course. And so I have this online business where, I use social media to connect with families and parents of littles and share what I know, and then refer them to my course if it's a good fit for them. That's kind of the main thing. And then also most recently, this is something I never thought I would do, but I became a brand partner with Monate. And they are a direct sales company. It's a global beauty brand. They make custom hair and skincare routines, clean vegan products. Anyway, um, it has been such an interesting journey and an unexpected gift for me, as you know, in this online space, to recognize how I can use my creativity, learn leadership skills, kind of this drive or desire I have about, business and helping people. So I get to help people, with the products, with their own hair and skin, but I also get to mentor and coach and help other women who also want to, have an online business and join in with money as a brand partner as well. So that's kind of what I have going on, in addition to everything with my 4 kids and my regular life.
So one thing I like that you have talked about is being courageous. So I like how, you know, some of the stuff that you do on your Instagram and your different social media, you said when I talked to you before, was kind of took some courage in the beginning to put yourself out there. So tell me about that journey.
Oh my goodness, 100%. I don't know for you or any of your listeners, but sometimes when you're a stay-at-home mom, you kind of get used to just being in your own little cocoon, right? You're kind of just at home and you kind of feel invisible. And sometimes I was fine with that. Like, I'm just going to be here and nobody's going to see me or know what I'm doing or what I look like or what I have to say. And nobody can see my mistakes, right? You kind of just keep to myself. And especially with the pandemic, I was super isolated. And so showing up online and saying, I have something to share, or I've created this thing from my heart, or, this is important to me, feels so vulnerable. It kind of feels like, here I was in this safe little dark cave, and now I'm on stage naked with the lights on me, right? And so it definitely takes courage to show up in that way. And worrying about the opinions of others, it has taken a lot of mindset shifts for me. A couple of kind of mantras or quotes that I love that I will share, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One is, fear is a reaction, but courage is a decision. And so if you're a person with courage, it's not that you don't feel fear. It's that, yeah, you feel that fear. That's a normal response, but that you then choose, you make a decision, you decide to, to not act or to take action anyway. And, this is something that I'm totally a work in progress, still, battling these, insecurities and intrusive thoughts all the time, but I'm trying every day to show up, because this is my other quote that I love. Confidence is not something you have, it's something that you practice. And so it requires putting myself in those positions over and over again to practice confidence. And the more I do it, it gets a little bit easier every time, but some days it's still hard.
Awesome. I'm writing those down. So confidence is not something you have, it's something you practice.
Yes.
And I think that's true with so many things. It's all about matter of practicing, whatever it is you're doing, so like I started meditating a while back, and it's like, that's so hard for me because I'm like, go, and just sitting still, but it's practicing it, and it's just improving all the time. So awesome. So I love that. I love your showing up. So,
Yes.
showing up online is one way that you show up, but there are other ways that you show up. So what is it that you're not showing up in? Maybe you could, people could ask themselves that they could be showing up to enrich their lives and enrich other people's lives. The things that you're doing on Instagram, help other people. And that's something that, we need to think about. We need to sometimes get outside of our own little cocoon, like you said, and share our gifts with other people, because that's not always easy. So
absolutely.
I loved your definition. When we talked before this podcast, you talked to me about harmony. Tell me about harmony for you.
Yes. Okay. Gosh, as a woman, at least I hear this more with women, is we talk a lot about balance, right? How do you balance your home life and your work life, or how do you balance entrepreneurship and motherhood or whatever. But balance to me feels so stressful. When I hear balance, it just seems like it's setting me up for failure, because I imagine, these metaphors of juggling, right? I have a lot of balls I'm juggling. You throw one more in there, you're going to drop all of them. And that just feels like impossible to me. And so I don't remember where I heard this, but someone once described this as, instead of seeking balance, seek harmony. And so I like to try to imagine, instead of trying to have this seesaw where it's perfectly, quote, fair or even, right? That I imagine it more as a symphony piece. It's this beautiful, complex kind of dance, this music that has, a melody, maybe there might be repetition of different movements, there's harmonies, all the instruments are playing their part. At some points in the piece, one or the other is going to take the lead and really sing out, or turn up or down their volume. And so I just try to imagine my beautiful full life as, something where I'm seeking harmony. So yes, there might be times where, I'm spending a lot more time really focusing on my children and being more present with them. I had a baby this year, so when he was a newborn, it was 100% him, right? And then there might be other times when I am, beating that drum of my business, and, that gets to carry us along. And I don't know, I just love that metaphor a lot more. For me, it feels filled with hope.
I love that too. I love, and it makes, you can visualize that, like sometimes the
Mm,
strings are here and then sometimes it's the brass, and, but then all together it makes this beautiful song,
yes.
so I really loved that definition. So you have your online business and your regular business and your family. Tell me some routines that you have in place, maybe like a morning routine, evening routine, how do you, what are some things that make that work for you?
Yes. Okay. So I, for me to make this work, it's two pieces. One is my mindset and the other one is logistics. So let's talk about logistics right now. And as I said before, I'm a work in progress. I'm constantly adjusting this and learning as I go and trying to adapt, because my kids are young and they're growing, their needs are changing. Seems like every week, right? But what ideally for me, if I plan ahead, my week or even my month of, this is what I'm going to put out on social media, or these are the different projects I have going on, that really helps. So that way when I do have work time, I'm not kind of spinning my wheels, wasting that time thinking, oh, what am I supposed to be doing right now? It's already kind of laid out for me. I'm not the best at doing that, but when I do, that really helps me. um, I When I do have kind of my mind turning about work ideas or entrepreneur ideas, I just do a brain dump and I just get it all out of my brain onto my notes in my phone or onto my whiteboard or wherever, so that I can be really present with my kids when I'm with them, and I'm not focusing on thinking about all these ideas that I have about work. Um, I do try to use pockets of time. I talk about that a lot, with my other friends in business, that, there are, with, at least it seems like for my family, kind of our rhythm goes like, there will be kind of waves of a lot of action, and I need to be, 100% there, hands on with my kids. And then there'll be kind of a natural lull, right? Everyone will kind of settle into their activities, or the baby will take a nap, or we'll have a waiting period before the next thing that's happening. And during those, I try to work. Um, Not every time, but sometimes I can do little things here or there during those pockets of time. When I do need, a bigger piece of time, I do have a babysitter that comes every week and helps me a few mornings a week. And that is really nice, because I can use that big chunk of time to do a project that requires more focus. Or sometimes I will, what they call, in the social media world, batching your content, right? So I will make a whole bunch of videos, that I will then release over the next week or two or whatever. So those are two things I do. And I actually got that babysitter to support me postpartum, um, because I've had postpartum depression in the past with other babies. And so this was kind of a preemptive, like, I'm going to get this support here before my baby is born, so that I know I have somebody to count on, so that I can have help, have a break, take a nap, go to an appointment, whatever. So I can just feel like I can breathe a little bit during that really intense first year of baby's life. So it's been really nice to have that to count on.
And that was
And
planning ahead, so I liked how you
yes.
said that you plan ahead, you plan ahead for your weeks. And you did your brain dump. And when you do that, I think that allows you to be able to use those pockets of time effectively, because
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't already thought of some things that you want to be working on or that need to get done, that time just gets wasted scrolling through your phone or whatever. But then
Yep.
if you are really intentional about, these are some things that could be done in those pockets of time, or the time that you have scheduled for your babysitter, you have, planned out in advance what needs to get done, then you can be so much more effective. And you've kind of time blocked that time, just
Mm-hmm.
by having the babysitter there. That's the time that you've blocked for doing that. And you want to take advantage of that time, so you're more likely to be more productive. You're paying somebody to be there, and so you want to actually make that time productive. So I like that. So those are some great, so the brain dump, the planning ahead, and just kind of having it laid out, and then have those things that need to get done in mind so that you can take advantage of those pockets of time.
Yes, one more thing I would add is also I have learned, or I'm trying to implement this more, is to automate things. As I go along with my businesses, I'm trying to learn how can I do less work, right? So what is it that I can just have automated so that I don't have to be looking into this every single time? And those are like tricks that I'm learning as I go, just by trying, and learning from other people who have online businesses and who do things on social media. So that's been really helpful too.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. And even not social media, having your bills auto paid, and,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot of little things in your life that you can automate, and not have to think about all the time, but with your posts and things. Awesome. And then mindset. So tell me about mindset.
Okay, logistics are one thing, but for me, this has been my biggest hurdle. um, I really have had to work on my mindset a lot in the last couple of years to even give myself permission or allow myself to even pursue these other things at all, right? And so, gosh, I've had to let go of a lot of shoulds.
Mhm.
A lot of, this is what I should be doing, or I shouldn't be doing that, or a good mom should do this. Or, I letting go of those and really asking questions about, why is it this way? And then really choosing for myself and being intentional rather than just kind of living by default. There's been a lot of shifting my perspectives about, what's my definition of motherhood? What's my definition of partnership? What defines my worth as a woman? Gosh, so many things that I have discussed, with my husband a ton, to really give myself permission to even ask for that help, or to spend time on things that matter to me. To be okay not being with my children every second of every day. And to to really, talk to my kids about why I'm doing what I'm doing, setting my boundaries out loud. Gosh, so many of these mindset things that make this possible for me have been so helpful. And one of them is kind of what you mentioned before about using our gifts to help others. And that I think I used to have this idea that if I was doing something in addition to motherhood, that it was something selfish, right? But that I'm realizing, or I'm changing that story, right? The story I'm telling myself is that, this is something that I'm doing I'm setting a good example for my kids. I'm using my time and talents to help others as well. my kids are learning independence and resilience, and they're learning teamwork, and they're helping each other. It doesn't always have to be me 100% of the time. There's so much of this, so many, different stories I tell myself, to let go of that shame and those shoulds and give myself permission to, have that harmony, the full on symphony piece, that I am a multidimensional human and that it can be beautiful and not something to be feel guilty about.
I like that. Yeah, I like the letting go of the shame, because we're really good at that, I
Mhm.
think. Creating shame for
Yes.
ourselves, and
Oh, yes.
I think we can be masters at that, and being intentional about giving yourself permission. And I really liked that you talked to your family about why this is important to you. I
Mhm.
think, people don't know, they don't know, and if people don't know you need help with something, they don't know if you don't tell them. And so, or that you want to pursue something, or whatever it is, communication is key. And um, we can put a lot of limits on ourselves, just worried about what somebody else is going to think or say or do, when probably that's not going to be the case. Most of the time, people are going to be supportive.
Absolutely.
So what are
Yes.
some challenges that you've had implementing this, and how have you overcome them?
Gosh, I think, in letting go of that shame is also letting go of some expectations that I may have had. Sometimes I get really down on myself about, oh, my house isn't always clean, or my car is the one place that's always a huge mess, with taking kids to activities and having toddlers crunching their snacks into the ground and all the things. And so I think releasing the expectations of, oh, I can do everything and everything can be wonderful all the time and perfect all the time. Just allowing myself, giving myself some grace and releasing that shame about um, looking at it more as, I'm deciding, I'm choosing how to use my time. And then being okay with the consequences of that choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. And really, if you walk into your friend's house and breakfast dishes are still on the counter, you don't even think anything of it. In fact, you're
Mm-mm.
kind of like, oh, phew, she's not perfect either.
Everyone's normal and human.
Yeah, you're normal and human. And so,
Yep.
yeah, a lot of that we just put on ourselves unnecessarily.
Absolutely. I think another challenge for me has just been um, maybe, let's see, how should I word this? Just consistency, right? Continue. You know how it is as an entrepreneur. It can get lonely or discouraging sometimes when maybe you're not seeing the progress that you want in your business. Um, or it's hard to be patient sometimes when things, you're playing the long game, you're looking at long-term goals, and to show up the day after day, um, however that looks, and kind of have faith or trust the process.
Uh-huh.
And looking forward, um, when maybe you're not seeing the difference in those incremental things that you're doing day by day. I think that's one of the challenges of business for me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So, um, and that is the challenge with almost anything worthwhile, is that you don't see
Mhm.
the immediate results. And it's a challenge, working out, you're not immediately fit or whatever it is, or you start a new eating program or whatever. So the challenge is to be consistent and trust the process, like you just
Mhm.
said. I like that a lot, to trust the process and set a schedule for yourself, be consistent, and probably you've had to prioritize what's most important, right? Because obviously you can't get everything done, like you mentioned. Sometimes your car isn't your highest priority. And so, but you have to be intentional about thinking about those priorities and putting those top priorities in there consistently.
Yeah, and I think sometimes um, it just has to be a very thoughtful, very personal, kind of intuitive thing right? That we know, okay, when is this something that I just need to keep pushing through, and I need to keep working at it, and I need to, just not give up, right? And even if it looks, there's ebbs and flows, or sometimes it looks messier than I want it to, I'm gonna hold to this and keep going. And then I think there are other times when it's right for us to change our course of action, or to pivot, or to let go of something that isn't fitting our lives anymore, based on our family's needs, based on, our desires, or how that thing is going, and giving ourselves permission to do that again without shame.
Yeah.
That, I started a private practice here in Utah where I was seeing kids one-on-one. And then I also started teaching at the university, and doing both of those at the same time. At that time, just the needs of my family and my children, it was just too much. And I had to let one of those go. And that was a hard decision, but I knew that it was the right thing for me to do. And I think it would have been um, wrong for me to kind of just bullheadedly push through that and say, nope, this is what I chose. I'm going to just, stay the course, and kind of grind through, when it really wasn't the right thing anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think there's both sides of that. And that just has to be a really, um, I'm a religious person, so I feel like that's a prayerful decision. That's something guided by, um, the divine, to tell me, how to use my time, what's right for me in that moment. And
Well, along with that, I think is evaluating, it's like,
yes.
taking that little bit of time to step back and say, is this working? And,
Hmm.
maybe something needs to change, something isn't working here, or, and like you said, with the intuitive, you can feel when I'm just way too harried. I've got way too many things on my plate. I'm not functioning well in any of these areas. Something needs to go, but that takes awareness, that takes evaluation, and just kind of stepping back and look at the situation and be willing, like you said, you could have just bullheadedly pushed through there, but be willing to change course if something's not working for you. Be willing to adjust your plan just a little bit. So,
Yes, I love that word you used, awareness. I think that is so key.
yeah. Awesome. So we are amazingly almost out of time. Anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to?
um, let's see. I guess just one caveat to all of this. As a woman, as a mom especially, I think we get a lot of messages from society, from our cultural upbringing, from whoever, telling us what's the right way to be a mom. And sometimes when we see other people doing it differently than us, we start to question, or have that self-doubt. And so that this is not a moment to ever shame another mom for what they're doing or not doing. They already have so much pressure on them. But just that, the things that I'm pursuing right now, that this is what I'm personally working through, but that all of this is going to look different for every woman and her family, at different stages of life. And so if you're listening to this, whatever you're doing right now, I'm sure you're doing a wonderful job. And there's no pressure to do more than what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and everyone's path is different. Your path isn't someone else's
Hmm.
path, and be okay on your path if it's bringing you joy. And
Absolutely. My teacher, or my sister, is a teacher, and she says, keep your eyes on your own paper, right? Same thing in life. Don't compare yourselves to other people.
I love that. That's awesome. Yep, comparison just leads to unhappiness. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I learned so much. I took lots of notes. Thank you so much. I loved your quotes. Just a reminder that the giveaway from our sponsor, Card Salad, to get that, you go to habitsforhumans.com and sign up for a free 7-day Eat Real Foods challenge. You get 7 days of recipes done for you, shopping list, and your meal planning is done for you for the week. And the second sponsor, the Success Choice, gives you the perfect tool to create these habits and order in your lives. And you can save 15% today at thesuccesschoice.com using the coupon code Habits for Humans. And Mary, what is it that you are offering?
Yeah, Pam, thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to talk with you, and an honor to be on a podcast with you. So what I'm offering is my online course for parents who are working with their babies and toddlers to encourage and really just supplement and support their language development. And so I have that course, and I'm offering it for your podcast listeners at 50% off. So I really believe in the value of that course, and I created it specifically for busy parents. So it's really like bite-sized chunks, really quick videos. And yeah, I'm happy to answer questions about it.
Awesome. And more details will be in the show notes. So make sure you look at the show notes so you get all that information so that you can take advantage of all the giveaways today. Again, thank you so much, Mary, for joining us. Thank you to our guests, for our listeners for joining in. And thank you in advance for your positive review, and have a wonderful day.